Good morning and good afternoon. David Isaacs from Pure Storage here. Welcome to Pure Storage webinar on the All-Flash Advantage with Chad Kenney, CTO Americas for Pure Storage. Before we start the Q&A, I wanted to let you know that at the end we've got some time for Q&A with Pure's Senior Systems Engineer, Michael Ben. So please enter any questions you have into the BrightTalk console. At the completion, we'll also be holding a lucky draw for a double movie pass, and the winner will be notified by phone and email, so please make sure we've got all your details in there. This webinar will be recorded and available on demand at the completion of the session. Without any further ado, I'd like to hand over to Chad.
And thank you guys so much for joining. We're going to jump right in just so we can show you a few quick slides and talk to you a little bit about the Flash Advantage, as well as give you a quick overview of the interface for Pure Storage, as well as Pure One. So first off, Flash has become a very transformational technology in data centers today. And partially it's due to the fact that it makes applications ridiculously fast. Deployments can be very, very simple with Pure. And we're adding in an efficiency level that not only reduces costs, but shrinks overall data center space, power, and cooling. And then also makes Flash more affordable overall with some of the consumption models that we built in. So we ask you, why would you buy disk if you could have Flash at similar costs with obvious advantages on top of it? When we look at the Flash Advantage as a whole, we see really two advantages. One is the IT transformation advantage, and the other is business transformation. When we look at it, we make storage ridiculously simple, and by being able to consolidate different servers and applications onto one single platform, which enables you to reduce aggregate costs by about 50% and reduce the management costs by 90%, enabling you to have that private cloud experience. This typically is about a 10x efficiency when you look at it in aggregate, being able to shrink your overall footprint in the data center, as well as costs for your capital, as well as operational expenditures. When you look at the business transformational advantage, we're accelerating those applications to enable you to have not only better user experience, but better productivity and revenue for the business. We're also getting you to go to market faster by enabling those cloud-based services within your environment, showing that 10x performance that everybody loves to see with their applications. We also see on the IT transformation side that our customers have been able to save in an average over a 6-year period a sizable amount. So I would ask that you, when looking at Pure Storage, look at the duration of a 6-year period and see how Forever Flash and Evergreen Storage truly impacts the overall cost, because our customers are seeing dramatic reductions. We're also seeing about a 75% reduction in overall space in the data center itself. So you typically will see multiple racks consolidated to just a few rack units within the data center, while also seeing, about a 200% improvement on processing in the environment. So just in aggregate, being able to create a much more optimized experience on the IT side. And this is really due to the fact that, when you look at traditional environments, you see varied workloads, and typically the latency results peaks and valleys all over the place. As you can see on the left-hand side, your typical hybrid or tiered experience gives you sometimes low latency, sometimes high latency. And then aggregate result here is somewhere around 26 millisecond response time or around that number. If you're able to reduce that down dramatically to about a half a millisecond, not only do operations run faster, giving you better user experience, but you obviously just get data results back faster. One other thing that's great about Pure is we never require a downtime at any point in time, whether it be firmware upgrades, hardware upgrades, or various other things. You can even see in this graph here on the right-hand side that we're actually doing some of these during this consistent result with software upgrades and hardware upgrades, and just giving you that consistency no matter what. We also believe that business operations can see some pretty dramatic results as well. We had a customer who was able to save about $200 million in reducing overall aggregate times to be able to actually do inventory. When you look at most systems today, having slow response time to data results in having to keep more inventory. And so by reducing the inventory from 5 days down to 3, allowed them to save a vast amount of money over the lifetime of the product, and it pays for itself. Also for online operations and e-commerce sites, we're able to increase the amount of users on the same infrastructure to be able to scale this environment for many, many more years. You'll see some examples and case studies on our website, such as Shutterfly, who was able to increase overall aggregate workloads, plus be able to get about a 600% increase in queries that they were running to get business intelligence off of their data sets. You also see here that development time, and so folks who are trying to get to market faster are seeing vast reductions in build times because of this faster access to information. So reducing, a 3-month process down to 6 hours can be highly transformational into the business. This has given us a lot of great results. So for one, we've been fortunate to be in the leader quadrant for the Magic Quadrant for 2 years in a row now. We've gone from 0 customers to about 1,350 customers in the last 3 years, many of which are in the Fortune 500, 75 plus of which. We've also gotten high marks in our SAT Matrix NPS score. And the value here, and this is one of the metrics that we look at very closely, is to make sure that customers are happy with our solutions. If you look at typical technology solutions, they're in the teens. And so for us to be able to have a certified result from SAT Matrix at 79 is a huge win for us and a testament to how amazing our support organization and product is. We've also seen that for our top 25 customers, they're continuing to transform their data centers with taking on advancements with Flash. And so for every dollar they spend, they're spending another $9 within an 18-month period. So this is exciting to see that true swap of all disk infrastructure out to Flash. Here's just a couple of examples of various folks that have taken advantage of Flash, many of which are actually going to an entirely all-Flash data center. Many of these have great results, and you can see those on purestorage.com under our case study section. Our overall founding vision was pretty simple. We focused on making things ridiculously simple. No configuration whatsoever, no RAID config, no architecture discussions. Installations typically take 45 minutes to an hour, and you're up and running with all of your capacity available for your servers. We also made the consumption model ridiculously simple as well by having all software included. Software that exists today or even into the future is available just a firmware upgrade away, and you'll never be licensed for any sort of software feature sets within the array. We also wanted to have the most efficient architecture out there by incorporating first software layers to reduce data sets, including inline dedupe, compression, pattern removal, and thin provisioning, but also being able to reduce the data center footprint dramatically for power and cooling. Lastly, besides just overall performance, which is great with all Flash, is the mission-critical reliability. We're seeing greater than 5 nines availability, and these are on looking at actual software logs versus your traditional pinging the array about every 10 minutes. We support a non-disruptive everything with no performance impact, and this is huge for some of the consumption models that we talk about, like swapping out hardware at any point in time. Just imagine a world of never taking a downtime again, ever. Pretty awesome. We make this effortless, as I talked about. We'll show you the GUI here today, but it is highly intuitive, doesn't require any sort of tuning whatsoever, and we have a proactive support model that actually reaches out to you when there is a need for any sort of configuration changes or if we see any problems in your environment. We fully manage these online upgrades with no downtime. We make it very easy for you to easily add capacity expansion anytime you need it. We also support a cloud-based management utility called Pure One, which I'll show you here in a little bit, which gives you a view into your entire enterprise, your entire fleet of Pure Storage arrays, and even allows you to trend capacity and determine when you're going to run out, really taking the art out of this and putting a lot more science behind it. As we talked about before, we're typically seeing great efficiency results and typically seeing it in about 5.4 to 1 data reduction, which is pretty huge. And if you look at it within provisioning, right around 12 to 1 data reduction. We incorporate a bunch of different data reducing feature sets within the array, and our ratio from SSD to CPU and DRAM is phenomenal. So you'll continue to see that cost reduction. We're currently seeing it at about $1.50 a gig usable for a fully scaled out array. We also build in all of the feature sets required for traditional enterprise storage, including remote snapshots, local and remote snapshot capabilities with replication in an asynchronous fashion. We not only support thousands of snapshots with zero overhead to performance locally on any of the arrays, but also allows you to have policy-driven engines to be able to determine when you're going to keep those snapshots and when you should cut them off and delete them from the array to ensure you're space efficient. We take that same exact technology and deploy that in a remote replication solution with efficiencies over the wire so that we can have not only one-to-many, but many-to-one type replication solutions and have policies that are different on each side so that you can have different retention periods, let's say on one section versus, or one site versus the other site. We also enable you to be able to test DR by just spinning up some new clones on the secondary side without impacting replication between each of the sites. This is a huge value, and again, included with any Pure Storage solution without additional licensing. This is huge, and this is kind of an old school slide just because I like continuing to use the originals here. But we are able to do non-disruptive operations for not only capacity expansions, which typically in traditional storage environments include a bunch of architecture discussions, restriping the data sets across the new drives. In our case, you plug it in, you power it up, and you see the capacity instantly. The system balances itself over time. We also can swap out hardware non-disruptively by swapping out multiple different generations of controllers. We went from the FA320 to the 420 to the 450, now all the way to the FlashArray//M, and we have many customers who have gone through upwards of 5 hardware upgrades without ever taking a downtime on any of their systems whatsoever, and we do this without performance loss whatsoever. This also includes our firmware upgrades for new features that we come out with, and you can do that non-disruptively as well. I wanted to do a quick overview on the FlashArray//M before we dive into the demo. This is our current product line that actually supports up to supports 120 terabytes within the 3U chassis itself, with scalability up to about the ½ petabyte range and even further coming out here shortly. Typically, you'll see that we'll do about a kilowatt of power, and this is in a 3U form factor for 120 terabytes, which is a pretty dramatic reduction in comparison to the multi-rack configuration that would be required in a traditional disk-based system. These systems can go up to about 300,000 32K IOPS and result in some pretty awesome bandwidth results. Reach out to your local systems engineer to get more results that are applicable to your application-based requirements. We also wanted to make this ridiculously easy, so 6 cables to get this thing up and running, and all of the HA and DR-based systems are built in for easy deployments within your enterprise. If you look at what this looks like on the front, we have 20 drive or flash modules that are in the front of this, and they come in 5, 12, 1 terabyte, and 2 terabyte modules. We actually made these modules dual drive configurations to not only enable better performance, but also be able to give you deeper density over time. These flash modules, or inside the chassis for the flash modules, are supporting SAS-based connections, but they are pre-wired for PCIe NVMe-based devices. So this chassis would give you a 7 to 10 year lifespan. So you can continue to swap out these hardware in a modular fashion without having to take any sort of downtime or forklift upgrade. We also changed out our NVRAM devices. Previously, we were using SAS drives within the first 2 base shelves. We have now incorporated a DDR3 module that are NVMe capable via a PCI connection that's dual honed to each of those controllers. So continuing to keep the NVRAM outside of the controllers so we ensure that they are completely stateless, enabling us to be able to swap out hardware, but at the same time enabling much better performance results on these NVRAM devices than what we had in the previous generations. Our expansion shelves today can go up to 12 to 24 terabytes, and we most recently just released a 44 terabyte shelf, which is great. Our controller modules come out in 3 different generations. We have the M20, M50, and M70, and these are easily upgraded in the future by just pulling the handle out and swapping the controllers in and out. We support 2 different I/O modules, Fiber Channel and iSCSI, and Fiber Channel comes in 8 or 16 gigabit Fiber Channel, and the iSCSI comes in 10 gigabit Ethernet. These are scalable from the M20 from 15 to 120 terabytes all the way up to the 400 terabytes in 11U, which gives you various performance results into the 150 all the way up to the 300,000 32K IOPS. So overall, if you look at the foundation of things, we're trying to help you build out your private cloud internally in your environment by giving you not only acceleration of your business apps, but being able to unlock those data analytics by having faster access to information and doing this in a way that's so ridiculously simple that it improves user productivity by being able to consolidate all of this into one simple platform with no tuning and no configurations required whatsoever. So last part here I wanted to go through, and this is one of the bigger transformational things that we built into the market and was a pioneer of. If you look at, first off, the typical ownership of storage, you go through a cycle of every 3 to 5 years requiring you to have to swap out your existing storage environment. This requires you to not only buy new gear with the same licenses, the same capacity, and new controllers, but also requires you to actually migrate the data from one array to the other. If you look at it, since these solutions are pretty complex, it typically takes, sometimes 6 months or longer to get onto the new product, and then 6 months or longer to get off of it. And so at the end of the day, if you look at a 3-year life cycle, you reduce that overall time from a year or more, giving you only about 2 years of useful life of these products. We wanted to come out with a completely new way of doing things, and with the architecture that we built with non-disruptive everything, we can enable you to have a much more cost-efficient architecture going forward. We believe that this can be much more evergreen or much more like a subscription service where you have a capital outlay and deploy this one time as you go, and then we give you flatline maintenance with controller refreshes every 3 years. The value to this is that you can keep the same exact array in your data center for many, many years to come with never migrating off of that platform and never being forced financially to swap out the array and forklift it just because it becomes more expensive to maintain it. If you look at what a traditional model looks like, normal legacy storage comes with a capital outlay as well as OpEx on year 1, and you'll see that there is OpEx that is pretty flatline in 2 and 3. Typically, you buy this all in the same year. In year 4 and 5, you'll see an increased number or cost basis on your maintenance going forward. And typically, this makes it so it makes more sense for you to buy new, which looks like this, than to actually hold the old array. The challenge here is there's a lot of wasted cost in this model. Plus, there's a lot of resource time required to actually migrate the data. We believe a much more consistent or evergreen model has not only vast cost reduction, but just makes a lot more sense in the enterprise today. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into a quick demo of our array, as well as go through a Pure 1 demo as well. So the flash array itself has multiple different tabs. We have the dashboard, the storage tab, protection tab, analysis, system, and messages. We're going to go through a couple of these, but we'd invite you to have somebody out to go deep and give you a deeper view of exactly everything that's working on the system here. On the left-hand side, you can see that we have the alerts within the array, as well as a quick health status. You can see if you click on here, this will kick you over to the System tab under System Health, and you can highlight over any component to see what's going on with it currently. This is great, so if you have an alert on the array as a failed component, you can dive quickly into here to see what's going on with this. You'll see that this view is the same in Pure 1 as well when we jump over to that section. The dashboard also gives you high-level metrics of your entire configuration here within the storage array. So first off, you can see your provision capacity, which currently is about 54 terabytes. You can see your total reduction, which includes thin provisioning, as well as your data reduction that does not include zero reduction or thin provisioning at all. Down below here, you can see how the capacity is broken into buckets. We have a certain amount for snapshots as well as volume space, which is unique, and your shared space, which is data that is reduced across volumes. Down below here, you have real-time as well as historical metrics. You can see these metrics down from 1 hour all the way up to 30 days, and you can see an entire year's worth of capacity, replication, and performance results in our analysis tab up here. As highlighting over any of these, you can see the metrics such as read-write, latency, IOPS, and bandwidth, which is great metrics to have at your fingertips. You can also see the queue depth of the array, average I/O size, and even the total bandwidth that you're driving. You can see here that we're currently doing 32K IOs that are doing about 61,000, 65,000 IOPS at a half a millisecond, driving about 2 gigabytes per second. I can change the view here if I want to just look at 1 hour and be able to see a little bit deeper, as well as if I want to zoom into any point in time, I can see that as well. This is great when you have varied workloads, let's say for backup windows or maybe increased workload due to peak times or seasonal times within the business. All right, next we're going to jump to the storage tab. We wanted to make this so easy that it is almost intuitive without any instructions whatsoever. And comically enough, with customers, they typically will get a storage array and actually learn this without any sort of training at all, just because it's so intuitive. Let me show you a few examples of that. So when you connect up a storage array, let's say you have a host connected to it, you've zoned it up and it's ready to go. First thing you do is you create a host, and we're going to call this test host. Once the host is created, we will go and find host ports. Now, we support Fiber Channel and iSCSI. So in the Fiber Channel world, what's great here is that we auto-discover the worldwide names that are currently trying to log into the array. In this case, let's just pick 2 of these worldwide names, and now we'll have those available, and the array will be ready to see new volumes. Inside the connected volumes, instead of having to pull out that massive Excel document to try to figure out where you're going to carve that LUN up or have to utilize professional services, we make this almost ridiculously easy with just a few metrics that you need to incorporate into this. For one, you can add in an existing volume if you like, or you can create a new volume. Now, this should be pretty amazing to most who have looked at normal GUIs from our traditional vendors. We're only asking you for a name and a size. So let's just call this test LUN, and we'll make it 10 gigabytes to start. It instantly creates it, and you don't have to worry about what RAID type, where it's coming from, or should I do a meta LUN across multiple volumes or set caching or all the other madness that typically comes with traditional storage. What's nice here also is that we can quickly manipulate these volumes to anything we want. So if, let's say, I want to make that 10 gigabytes, 10 terabytes, instead of having to worry about where that 10 terabytes are going to come from, or if I need to scale across multiple RAID groups, I can just instantly change its size, and it changes it right away. Now the storage is available for the host to be able to see, and we can go ahead and start migrating the data onto it to see that great business value that you get from it. We can also look at all of our volumes and see metrics around this as well, and see specific volumes data reduction, as well as how much space they're truly using on the system. If I want to click just on a specific system, I can see what its data reduction is, as well as how much capacity it's using too. Just some great metrics to see within this. If I wanted to see this host in particular and how it was actually connected, I can go to a view connection map within here and actually see how each of these ports are logged into the system. Typically, this is kind of a black magic in most environments on how the whole fiber channel network works, and so fiber channel fabric works. And so by being able to showcase this in the GUI is really great. I'll show you in the System tab how you can see your entire enterprise on that. Our Protection tab was meant to be very, very simple, and I'm going to go through a very quick view of it. If I wanted to create, let's say, a new protection group, let's call it new PG as protection group, I'm going to go ahead and set an entire replication policy for my environment. First, what we're going to do is we're going to add some members in. The members can either be hosts, host groups, or volumes. In this case, let's make it a host group. What's great about host groups is they will dynamically add any volume that you add to that host group back into the actual protection group as well. So you'll never have that opportunity where you create a LUN and you forget to actually put it in the protection group to replicate it. We're going to put all of them just for fun here. And so we have all of them now added in as our members. We can define now our targets. And so our targets can be one to many different arrays. In this case, I've only set the relationship with this one array, so I'm going to go ahead and click it. Notice that I'm on a flash array M, and I'm actually replicating to an FA450. All of this is very supported and available for you. Once the target's defined, we're going to go ahead and define the schedule. We made this ridiculously simple on purpose because things do not need to be this complex. First off, we go ahead and create a snapshot. We can define whether we want to do it once every hour, once every 5 minutes. You can define the duration that you like. In this case, I'm going to do once every 15 minutes. Then I can define my retention policy. So let's say I want to retain every snapshot here for 4 hours. After that, I can retain 4 snapshots, let's say, for the next 7 days. And these are evenly distributed out. So assume that that will be one every 6 hours. Next, I'm going to define my replication strategy. So I'll go ahead in here and say I want to replicate, let's say, every 1 hour. And I want to keep those, and I can define, by the way, times when I do not want to replicate, which is kind of nice. After that, I can define how many snapshots or replicas I want to store on the secondary side. Let's say I want to store an entire day's worth, so I'll get 24 1-hour increments on that side. After that, I'll do the exact same retention policy, 4 snapshots for the next 7 days. Once I save this, this will go ahead and be set up and ready to go, and you'll start to see that snapshots will be created here locally based upon this policy. On the target side, you can see people replicating to me, and so you can see some of their snapshots and actually dive into those to see all of the different volumes within it, and you can substantiate those into an actual volume at any point in time by just copying that snapshot. This is as easy as it gets while being ridiculously functional, and this policy engine is really transformational because you don't have to have a lot of experience in replication to really be able to create replication policies and protect your data. Our analysis tab, I'm going to go through really fast, but the capacity analysis here is great to be able to see how capacity has grown over a different duration. You can see an entire year's worth of metrics here, which is really, really great, especially around capacity forecasting. You'll probably want to use Pure 1, but just to be able to see what's going on in the array is really, really great here. The array capacity breaks down all of these metrics for you, so you can see not only your historical data reduction, which customers love, but also how much people have provisioned. You can see somebody here made a 5 petabyte LUN, which is kind of crazy. All right, from a performance side of things, this is also great because you can go into not only the entire array, let's just say like we see in the normal GUI, but I can pick specific volumes and see all of their metrics as well. Last, we're going to go through replication. You can see how much bandwidth that I'm using for replication, and you can define specific policy, specific protection groups to see how much each of those are replicating as well. The last tab I'm going to go through is our system tab. Our system tab allows you to see the health of the array as well as the configuration as a whole. When you go down here, a few fun ones just to show you. First off, the connected arrays, host connections here. You can see all of the or how all of the ports are currently connected. Here's all of our ports here for each of the controllers. We have Ethernet 3, fiber channel 0 through 3 on both of these controllers. And you can see how the worldwide names for each of these hosts are connected to each of the ports within the array itself. And what's nice here is you can see a nice green redundant, meaning that you're redundantly connected to both controllers and in a full HA configuration. You can also see on the target ports down here all of your worldwide names, so just quick and easy access to be able to get this information. Let's go ahead and jump over to Pure 1 next, just so you can see some of the fun stuff that we built into this. This is our cloud-based single pane of glass management utility, which enables you to see your entire fleet of Pure Storage arrays across your entire enterprise, which is pretty amazing. And by the way, this again is included with any Pure Storage purchase, so there's no additional licensing for this. And this is typically a pretty pricey license to see your entire enterprise as a whole. Now, each one of these cards are a storage array. If I click on this storage array, this will actually kick me to the array itself. You have to be on your network to make this work, although it doesn't mean that you need to be on your network to actually see this GUI interface. So imagine being able to see your fleet of arrays even from your iPhone or iPad or any mobile device that you have out there, not even being on your corporate network, which is great for just quick access to things. Each one of these arrays gives you some cool metrics as well. You have your percentage utilized and the capacity of the array. You also have the data reduction results, read-write latency, IOPS, and bandwidth. These are great metrics, and you'll see a little orange gear here every 30 seconds, and this updates itself from the telemetry data coming in from all the arrays. Now, let's say you want to see a little bit deeper view of things. You can go onto our detailed card view and see all of the metrics for each of these arrays and break down each one of the sections as well. So here you can see the health of the array, which is a nice quick overview of all the different arrays out there. If I want to see a capacity analysis in just a quick format, I can see the last few months and how the capacity has increased or decreased over that time period. If I did, let's say, have a hardware failure, I could go in here and actually highlight over any of the components, just like in the normal GUI interface, and see exactly what it is so I could understand the alert. Also, I can see 6 hours worth of performance results, so I can see all of the metrics within this and be able to understand a little bit better about what's going on in my environment. It also gives you metrics here for latency, IOPS, and bandwidth, so you can see what's going on in the systems as well. Now, one thing I didn't show, and everybody loves the card flip. I can't believe I didn't do that. But here, you can flip the cards here on clicking the eye, and if there are any alerts on the system, which I don't have, oh, was there one done? No. It will show you all of the alerts on there. And if I want to see a tabular view of all of my arrays, I have that available here as well. The nice part here is I can sort by different items. So if I want to see who has the highest data reduction of all my arrays, I can see what that is. If I want to see who has the highest latency results, I can see that as well. So great information to have at your fingertips. Now, if I want to see my replication between arrays, I can see all of my protection groups across the entire fleet of arrays. And by the way, you could search for them up here and just define specific ones. I can click on any of these to see what has happened during that time period, when it started, when it completed, how long it took, and then how much data it actually transferred between the two arrays. You can look at the ranges from all time all the way just down to 1 hour, so giving you great information really quickly. Our analysis tab was something we added in relatively recently. This allows you to forecast capacity based upon a bunch of different metrics that you get to set up. First off, we have different ranges that you can set from 30 days to 1 year. And we give you a projection model of either doing a linear or mirror model. The mirror model is kind of fun because it takes the workload or it takes the capacity growth that you have and actually just mirrors it up to show you when you're going to run out of capacity. You can also move these to any point in time and see your capacity growth change. If I change this over to linear, you can see how the linear growth would change during that period as well. And this is probably a little too crazy, but you can see all those numbers. What's nice here is it gives you when you'll be full, how long it will take, and the amount of capacity that you'll utilize during that period of time. We've also integrated our support portal into this, so I can see all of the tickets, and unfortunately I don't have access to this, but I can see all of the tickets, and if you are a customer, you'll see all of your existing tickets as well as closed tickets, so you can look at that information and be able to follow up in the event that you want to understand a little bit more about your tickets. So hopefully that gives you a good view of not only the great value that Pure Storage can bring from a simplicity perspective and the advantage that Flash brings to the enterprise, but also show you how truly simple it is to deploy these solutions and manage them across your entire enterprise.
Thanks, Chad. So we had a few questions come through during the presentation, and I wanted to just ask Michael to address these now. First one, it seems that almost all storage vendors are talking about simplicity. With GUIs becoming simpler and more intuitive on most of today's platforms, how does Pure Storage differentiate themselves here?
Okay, thanks, David. So we do talk about simplicity a fair bit, and Chad spoke about the very simple user interface, that Pure has. But we're actually quite unique in many ways with regards to, I guess, what else is out there. And it's not so much that we've made the process of deploying RAID groups or pools or aggregates configuration simpler. It's actually we've done away with all of these concepts altogether on our platform. So really from a configuration perspective and from a management perspective, the only things to do on a Pure Array is to create a logical volume or a LUN, as Chad showed, and then present it to a host. That's it. There's no RAID configuration, as you saw. There's no pools, there's no aggregates, there's no caching, there's no balancing of controllers. There's none of that traditional storage management kind of concepts. But Pure Storage takes simplicity, I guess, beyond just the GUI, just the user interface. And we like to think that every interaction with Pure Storage is a simple one. From kind of starting out from a very basic 2-line quote for our products through to 30 maybe 40-minute installation of the arrays, the very simple user interface we've talked about, the fact that we've got availability for various integration points and management options through REST APIs and scripting, and through to the fact that you can add a shelf, a 90 terabyte shelf to the array and expand capacity on the array in about 5 minutes flat. Through to how easy it is to scale performance in the arrays with a very simple controller swap, controller upgrade that takes about half an hour to perform. And ultimately through to the fact that you don't need to think about what else is coming down the line from a storage functionality perspective, because your arrays, our customers' arrays, are kept up to date from a performance, from a capability perspective through our evergreen storage model. So we've really taken simplicity to a whole new level. It's not easy for competitors to match that. The user interface is just one aspect of it. Frankly, in most cases, the competitors are still working with legacy architectures that are 20, 30 years old in some cases. And whilst you can make the GUI progressively easier to use, you can't easily shift the underlying complexities of these legacy systems and architectures.
Thanks for that, Michael. Really well-rounded approach. I guess one of the other points we take from that is that we'd love an opportunity to come and show you what simplicity actually means from a pure point of view. Happy to arrange for introductory, proof of concepts, all that sort of thing. So my contact details are available in the downloads at the end of the webinar. Please reach out. Love to have a chat. The second question we had was data reduction. What sort of data reduction rates do you see for database environments like Oracle, SQL, given these databases don't generally contain a lot of duplicated data?
Yes, so the arrays, when we talk about data reduction, we actually talk about a combination of deduplication, so block-level deduplication. Pure storage arrays run variable block-level deduplication on all data that lands on the array. But also we talk about compression. So there's actually a number of compression algorithms that we use at different stages, both inline and also after data has landed on the array. So we both compress data as it lands and also in the background continuously reduce the footprint that we consume. But with regards to Oracle and SQL databases specifically, it's true there's not necessarily a lot of deduplication benefits to Oracle and SQL databases, but there is a whole lot of benefits from compression that can be gained from compression. So we typically see 3 to 1 data reduction on Oracle environments with a single instance, and usually 3 or 4 to 1 data reduction ratios in SQL environments, and that on single instances. And that's not to mention, the data reduction ratios that can be achieved when you start to look at things like presenting dev and test environments and UAT environments, where you have multiple instances of databases running on the array, full production or dev and test instances, but all consuming a small portion of the data that they're actually presenting. So data reduction ratios are actually very relevant to database environments.
Next question I had, there was a comment about DR and backup built in. Could you explain what's actually included, especially in the pricing of backup? Is that included, or do I have to have extra licensing costs?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a common question that we get. What licensing options, what features and capabilities are included with the arrays? The simple answer is that there's actually no licenses that we have as part of our platform at all. So all features and functionality are included as part of the array that is deployed. It's just as features are added into the platform, as we add capabilities, they just added in through a firmware upgrade of the arrays, and that's completely and entirely non-disruptive. So very easy to do, and features are added on the fly. So there's no capability, there's no functionality that's licensable. Everything is included. So everything we've spoken about, things like cloning and encryption and data reduction, they're all included as features of the platform. With regards to backup, I guess we're talking about things like replication, snapshotting, and cloning. And again, the arrays are capable of replication, one-to-one, one-to-many, many-to-one, array-to-array replication. Things like snapshots and cloning are there. Things like integration, from a management perspective, integration with products like Commvault that allow the user to manage the workflow of a backup environment, from running local snapshots through to replication, through to backing up at DR, for example, all can be managed through that workflow process with Commvault as an example. All of that capability is included just as part of the deployed platform.
Excellent, thanks for that. Last question for today that I have. Where can I go to get more training and information on this?
So there's a whole lot of information and videos and white papers available on our website. I would also encourage you to reach out to Pure Storage representatives in your region and your city. Reach out to David for contact details. With regards to training, there's training options available for our customers. To be honest with you, from a management perspective, training is that the arrays are that simple to use that there's actually not a whole lot of training to be done, and typically customers can get away with sort of half an hour to an hour informal skills transfer to become experts in the usage of the product. But for our partner community, for those partners that have joined the call, there's technical, deep dive technical training available on our partner portal. So yeah, again, please reach out to us for details on how to access that.
Excellent. That's all for today. Thank you very much for joining us, and look forward to seeing you again. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Chad. Have a great day.